Hey guys, happy 4th of July. Doing this on 4th of July. I'm sure everybody's having fun out having a pool party or barbecue. For people not in the US, happy 4th of July too. So I've been talking to a lot of people about doing games and the inspirations and stuff like that. And sometimes things just come to you. You want to run a game, you set it up and it goes really well. Other times it's really difficult to come up with an idea that you just need some spark of inspiration. So I was flipping through the Dungeon Master Guide with just looking for some things that my home group wants to play on Saturday. Haven't thought about anything, but came across all the roll tables starting on page 73, and thought, well, maybe I could do a one-shot just based off a couple of rolls. So I'm gonna roll for things like the setting, the goals of the adventurers, the villain's scheme, the villain's weakness, things like that. I'll throw it together and probably post this video on it after, after it's all, the game's done. That way you can kind of see the prep on it. But yeah, if you ever need it, start on page 72 and kind of goes all the way to like page 100. There's a lot of just kind of random roll tables also. All the guys at Absolute Tabletop, most of their stuff, if it's an adventure thing, like I think in the Convocation there's a bunch of roll tables to just kind of come up with an adventure. Those work really well too. But I'm just going to use the DMG for this one. So the first thing we're going to roll for is going to be the setting. And that looks like it is going to be the Arctic. So snow, things like that. Okay. I'm going to do the dungeon goals and the wilderness goals on page 73, just to kind of see. All right, that is going to be 17, which is win a bet or complete a rite of passage by surviving in a dungeon for a certain amount of time. Okay. So that's 17, and the wilderness goals is 2, which is assess the scope of a natural or unnatural disaster. So natural or unnatural disaster in the Arctic, and win a bet or stay in a dungeon for a while. That's going to be interesting. The villain, which is on page 74, roll 20 for that. It's another 2. And that is an aberration bent on corruption or domination. Okay. Sure, we could figure something out with that. Along with the villain, there's, let's see, go down here a couple pages. If you go to page 94 in the DMG, it has the villain's scheme and the villain's weakness. So I'm going to roll for that. It's an 8-sided dice and then a D4 after that. So for the villain's scheme, I got a 1, which is immortality, which is interesting. So we'll do a 1 there. And on the D4, I got a 2, which is ascend to godhood. This guy is hell-bent on basically domination, and he wants to ascend to be a god. That could work. As far as his methods, looks like we have to roll a 20 and then a 6. That's a 20. So his methods are going to be warfare. Give me 1 second here. Warfare, and the specific one, when I roll a 6 on it, is going to be invasion. So 20, and then number 1, number 2, which is invasion. So this guy is going to be some aberration bent on domination or something. He's going to want to acquire immortality and ascend to godhood. And he's going to do that through warfare and invasions. Okay. There's also another thing on the next page, which is the villain's weakness. Just going to kind of roll for that one too. It's a D8. Rolled a 5, which is the villain is destroyed if someone speaks his true name. So that's interesting. Again, we have something set in the Arctic, snow and ice, somewhere around there. We are going to trying to figure out a natural or unnatural disaster. When we get to the end, somebody's going to have to, it says, win a bet or do a rite of passage by staying somewhere for a certain amount of time. The villain is going to be said an aberration bent on domination. He is going to want immortality and ascend to godhood. He's going to do that through warfare and invasions. And his weakness is if somebody, what did it say here? Hold on. Yeah, the villain is destroyed if someone speaks its true name. So with that, that could be a pretty interesting story. Obviously, you'd have to tweak out the details and everything, but just that, not too bad. There was also something else that we could do, since we're only at like 5 minutes. Just kind of a random side quest if you guys are going through it really quick. There's just a D8 for a side quest. And I rolled a 1, which is find a specific item rumored to be in the area. So maybe in that dungeon, there's that specific item, you know, then have the NPCs do that. Now in the book, I mean, there's plot twists for you if you're not good at those. You know, there's ways to frame it. There's ways to come to a climax. You know, I might just do that. Do the climax roll just to see. That's on page 75 in the DMG. Let's roll a D12. And that is a 6. So an ally betrays the adventurers as they're about to achieve their goal. So maybe we had an NPC, and there's actually, we would need to actually roll for the NPCs. So that's actually kind of good. Let's see. Page 74, we can do some adventure allies and roll a D12 for those. And that is 8. So that's a raving lunatic. So this ally that is going to betray them for the climax of this when they're just about to reach their goal is a raving lunatic. And that could be interesting. So yeah, like I said, we're at about 6 or 7 minutes, and we already have a kind of a huge amount to work with as far as a storyline. So yeah, I just wanted to put it together, and I'll post it and see what you guys think. I might run a game on it, and you know, I'll post this after or before. We'll see how it works. So with that, guys, hope you all have a great holiday. You take care.